Hello folks, how are you? Welcome to the first ever Source Filmmaker tutorial. Well, on this channel anyway. So basically, I have been asked by a couple of friends over the last few months at least for a tutorial on how to make some fucking nice SFM shit. I kind of abandoned SFM over summer, but I'm coming back to it now, so I figured I might as well make a tutorial because why the fuck not? I might as well get some content out and it could be helpful for people. So I'm gonna quickly go through basically, oh brain, don't do this, not now. Okay, so I'm gonna basically go through just how I would make a simple like character poster, like just something that looks pretty cool. So yeah, we're gonna go through this anyway. So I picked a NEMESIS model from Resident Evil 3. You can use any model you want if you want to follow this along. I'm not really going to be doing a fucking in-depth tutorial here. This is basically just me showing how I do things. First thing I do when I load in to SFM is I would load in a map, and to do that you go up to here, File, Load Map, and yeah, you can basically just go on the Steam Workshop or SFM Lab if you're looking for fucking, if you don't mind having to sift through not safe for work stuff. There's pretty good resources there. No! So yeah, I picked NEMESIS just because he looks pretty cool and I haven't really used him for a lot of art, so I figured I would do that. So I've already got him rigged up, and to rig a character, you would have them over here in your animation set editor. You right click on them like this, you would go down to rig, and then you would pick from the rig. You would pick from the list of rigs, sorry. Not every model is going to work with every rig, it can be very specific. Luckily, NEMESIS uses a valve biped skeleton, so he worked with, I believe it is this one here, rig biped Mets. He's all rigged up, which means that he can move like this, you know. He's got inverse kinematics for his arms and legs, and like if you check in here, pelvis, yeah, it works pretty good. It does introduce some problems like this, like the knees and shit, because his clothes don't get rigged along with this. But that doesn't matter, you can fix that after you've done your basic posing. Yeah, down here, work camera, this is, as it says, this is a work camera, so you can fly around without fucking up your main camera's pose. We're not even going to feature his whole body, we're just going to like feature his face mostly, okay, just to make this really short and simple. As a matter of fact, if I actually pose the camera first, it might be easier. So this starting camera you'll usually start off with if you spawn in a model, it comes up with weak camera 1. You're not going to want to use that. You're going to want to come up here, add, and create a new camera. So there we go, we've got a camera here. And then you're going to want to drag the camera over onto your viewport, like this. So now, in this viewport, we are moving our actual camera. So you use your scroll wheel to change the field of view like this, which is very handy. We're just going to get a simple, actually we'll do one from an angle like this maybe. And so now we've got that. Now you can just keep the one window if you want, you know, like this, and just switch over to work camera and then just like pose him a little bit, change his head, make him look a little bit this way, I guess down a little bit further, and then switch back and then check it up. But what I like to do is just go up the windows here, the top left, click, and secondary viewport. So that'll bring this up. You want to hold down on secondary viewport here, drag it over, these wee boxes will pop up. You can put it anywhere you want, it doesn't matter, it's all up to you what makes you more comfortable. I always put it here like this, and then I usually keep the main camera here and I put the work camera here, and then I can just keep an eye on the second on the official camera on the right. Now I've got that out of the way. I know I'm going through this really quick, and I know that if you're just beginning, this is probably a really shit tutorial, but like I said, I'm just basically going through the process of how I would make a simple one. I might do a more in-depth tutorial in the future. I mean, there's so many Source Filmmaker tutorials out there already, so if you need one for starting off, I'm sure you can find one. Yeah, really, Source Filmmaker isn't too hard to learn once you get past the starting point, because it can be pretty intimidating if you have no idea what you're doing, like I did when I first started off, but trust me, it's not too bad. And once you learn stuff in Source Filmmaker, you can apply it to pretty much anything else. Like Blender and stuff, it makes learning Blender so much easier. I could just work on them further using the rig, but sometimes the rig has a habit of making things run slow. Yeah, see that? Like the rig is making his eye bones and all kind of shit. So we're going to detach the rig by going back into the rig menu, and I just click detach all, but you can click on the detach rig itself if you want. Like that. You know what? Maybe if we swap the camera around to the other angle. Oh yeah, that is much cooler. I love this one. I love this view much better. All that gnarly face detail. Oh yeah. Okay, so basic pose done. Let's talk about lighting, I guess, next. So you could load in a map that already has lighting in it, and that's fine. It really just depends on what kind of project you're doing. So the easiest method from here would be to throw like a green screen behind them, and this would be the best method if you have a scene in mind for what you want the background to look like. Like I know I'm gonna have like just some kind of night sky or like foggy stuff going on behind them, so I can kind of work from there. Another method you can do is add in a sky dome, and this is all important for lighting because you're going to want to, if you're lighting from scratch like we will be here, you want the lighting to proper represent the setting in which your character is in. I have no sky dome. Well, I've got this one. Okay, this one's okay. Again, anything I'm using can be found on the Steam Workshop or SFM Lab. Okay, so it's all stuff that people are releasing for free because for the artists or legends, you know what I mean. This might not have the kind of sky. Oh, there we go. This is kind of cool. Maybe a bit too dark, but let's see. What else can we do? Oh shit, that looks kind of cool. Okay, so I was gonna go for like a bluish nighttime lighting, but this kind of looks nice, so I'm gonna go with this. Right, so now we can actually light it, so we're gonna want to match the light to the background. But anyway, so we're gonna turn back on ambient occlusion, just because it adds a lot more detail, you know, with these tighter spaces on a model and the grooves and stuff. And we'll turn lighting back on for obvious reasons. So now let's start lighting. So you'll come up to here again where it says camera light and all this shit and create a new light. And then just like the camera, you can click, hold and drag over, and I'll put it onto the primary viewport. So now we can move the light as if it were a camera, which is really cool, but we're going to make this look as if it's coming from the sky anyway. So we want to turn, these are a lot of settings, I know. Don't worry, you don't have to actually look at most of these. There's only a few that are really important. So horizontal FOV and vertical FOV, these work the same way a camera does. You can either use the sliders here, or you can zoom in and out with your scroll wheel, which is really cool. So put that all the way up, and then down here to far C at 10. And you want to crank this up as much as you can so that the light reaches as far as it can. So then you can kind of put it up like this. That's kind of cool. This model is so nice. Sorry, I'm just kind of gushing over it. So just try and make this match the background as much as possible. There we go, we're already getting there. Look at that shirt, look at that beautiful boy. You could even add volumetrics. So if you want to add volumetrics, I might not do this for this light, but I'm going to show you anyway. You can right click on light and come down here to enable volumetrics, which does this. It basically adds like a fog. That actually does look kind of cool. I might keep that, we'll see. So that's our like sunlight, I guess. And then we'll use this to fill in some of the shadows. A trick to, well, not really a trick, but it's kind of like the secret to realistic lighting is the slider right here, radius. You can crank that up a little bit, and it kind of controls how the light spreads, I guess is the right word. I'm already liking how this looks, so I might not even change much. But I mean, we're already basically at a working point now where you could render this out and probably be satisfied. Let me change the light in here. I really like the blue mixing with the red, but maybe it's too much. I can't get too hung up on it because I'll be here all day. So what else is there before I render? I would go to camera, and this is where we're doing, I always save this to last, even though maybe I'm not sure if it's what other people would do, but I always like to fuck around, at least for stills, with the camera settings last. So your field of view, your focal distance, your aperture, a lot of very basic camera settings. Bloom controls, well, the bloom, basically like the glow. I tend to not really like SFM's bloom, but sometimes it can look alright. Like that looks pretty fine. So we're gonna change the focal distance and make sure Nemesis is like right in the frame of it. And then we're gonna crank the aperture up a little bit just to show you this. This would make the background blurry and focus on the point of interest just like a real camera would. And if you want to get even crazier with it, you can right click on Aperture, remap slider range, and change the it'll be 10 at first, the maximum, and you can change it to like fucking what, go 30 just for the crack, and crank it up a little bit more. And it's kind of hard to notice because the background is just the sky, but like if we cranked it up to like fucking 100, you'll really see how crazy it can get. Like that is ugly, but it can look better when you do this. So you would right click on your viewport with the camera, go to render settings, and you would turn your samples up as much as you want, and I'm going to turn them up as high as they can go, and this will increase the quality and the render time. But this is how you get the best quality out of your renders. Like look at that, that looks already great, but the aperture is far too high, so it looks kind of ugly. Try this, give it a minute to render, and it's looking good. Yeah, I'm quite satisfied with that. So I'm gonna render this out, and then I'll jump over to Photoshop and show you how I do my final touches. Oh fuck, would you fucking believe it, through the power of editing we're now in Photoshop. Okay, so Photoshop is my photo editing software of choice. I love Photoshop, but you can use, you know, anything you want if you're more comfortable with stuff like, I don't know, like GIMP or fucking, I don't know what other ones there are. I suppose CorelDRAW, anything that can handle photos, I guess you can use to edit this afterwards, because the work you do in post can really be what makes your renders pop with just those little fine tuning and stuff like that. So all I've done before I started recording again was slap on a LUT. It's a Constantine LUT from Triune Films. LUT is basically just a lookup table. It kind of starts off the color grading for you, so you've got a base to work from. They're very handy. You don't need them. You can do all the color correcting yourself. It just takes a bit longer. I quite liked how this one looked, so I'm just going to use it. So there you go, folks. That is basically how I would make a simple SFM like character poster. I know it probably wasn't like a great tutorial. I guess I can do a more in-depth tutorial in the future if anyone wants one. This was basically just because, I mean, I've had a few people, like just friends of mine, say that I should do a video just to show like the process, just for like tips and stuff like that. So I guess I could put together a more in-depth tutorial in the future if anyone does want that. This was basically just to show off, like, whenever I'm making just something for fun, whenever I'm just making a poster because I had a fun idea, how I would put it together, just basically showing the workflow. So hopefully somebody learned something from this. And yeah, thanks for watching regardless. This is probably very boring. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe for more art and animation and video game shit, I suppose. And yeah, see you next time. Peace.